After 2 years of planning, my wedding was supposed to be this Saturday. Instead, I'm sitting in my childhood bedroom at my parents' house, wondering if I'm still even engaged to the man I thought I was going to marry. I'm 27F, and my fiancé Jake is 29M. We've been together for 4 years and engaged for 2. We set our wedding date for October 14th almost immediately after getting engaged, because it's the anniversary of our first date. The venue was booked, deposits paid, invitations sent 8 months ago. Everything was perfect. Or so I thought. My future mother-in-law Carol has always been a lot. She's one of those women who thinks the world revolves around her and everyone should accommodate her preferences. But Jake has always been good about setting boundaries with her, so I figured we could handle whatever drama she brought to the wedding planning. Carol is 55 and has been divorced from Jake's dad for about 10 years. She lives alone in this huge house and honestly doesn't have much going on in her life besides her part-time job at a boutique and her TV shows. And when I say TV shows, I mean she is obsessed. She has this whole setup with multiple DVRs and streaming services, and she plans her entire schedule around her shows. Her absolute favorite is this reality show called Love Island, the British version, not the American one. She's been watching it religiously for like 8 years and knows everything about every contestant from every season. She's part of online fan groups, buys merchandise, the whole thing. It's honestly kind of sad how much of her identity is wrapped up in this show. During our engagement, Carol would occasionally make comments about wedding planning that were annoying, but not terrible. She wanted us to choose different flowers because she didn't like peonies. She thought our venue was too casual. She kept suggesting we invite her friend's daughter, who I've never met. Typical mother-in-law stuff that Jake and I would laugh about later. But 3 weeks ago, Carol discovered something that sent her into a complete meltdown. The Love Island finale was scheduled for October 14th, the same day as our wedding. Now, here's the thing. Love Island finales are always big events in the fan community. There's this whole online viewing party situation where Carol and her internet friends watch together and live tweet their reactions. It's apparently the highlight of her year. When Carol realized the date conflict, she called Jake immediately. I was sitting right next to him when he answered, so I heard the whole conversation. Jake, honey, I just realized there's a problem with the wedding date. What kind of problem, Mom? The Love Island finale is October 14th. I've been looking forward to it all season. I can't miss it. I thought Jake was going to laugh. I mean, who asks someone to change their wedding date for a TV show? But Jake just said, "Oh, that's too bad. Maybe you can watch it later." Watch it later? Jake, you don't understand. This is the finale. Everyone will be talking about it online. If I don't watch it live, the whole experience is ruined. Plus, I'm hosting a viewing party for my online friends. Mom, you're hosting a viewing party on the day of my wedding? I planned the viewing party months ago, before I realized about the date conflict. You need to change the wedding date. I grabbed the phone from Jake. Carol, hi, it's me. We can't change the wedding date. We've had this date booked for 2 years. All our vendors are confirmed. People have made travel plans dash. Well, you should have checked with me before booking it. We don't need to check our wedding date with anyone. It's our wedding. I'm the groom's mother. Of course you should have considered my schedule. I hung up on her. I was so angry I couldn't even speak. Jake looked uncomfortable but said, "She'll get over it. You know how she is." I thought that was the end of it. Boy, was I wrong. Over the next week, Carol called Jake every single day. She'd start crying about how she was going to miss the finale, her online friends were counting on her to host, how this was the most important episode in Love Island history. She sent him articles about the show and screenshots of other fans talking about how excited they were. Jake started getting more and more stressed about it. He'd say things like, "Maybe there's some way we could compromise," or "I hate seeing my mom so upset." I told him there was no compromise. We weren't changing our wedding date for a TV show, period. 2 weeks ago, Carol escalated things. She started calling other family members to complain about the date conflict. She told Jake's aunt that we were being inconsiderate of her feelings. She posted in her Love Island fan groups about how her son was making her choose between his wedding and the finale. The online friends actually took her side. They started commenting things like, "Families should understand your passions," and "A real son would change the date for his mother." Carol screenshot all these comments and sent them to Jake. Then last week, Carol played her trump card. She called Jake crying and said she'd spoken to a travel agent about changing her flight to come to the wedding. Apparently, if she flew out Sunday morning instead of Saturday evening, she could watch the finale before her flight and still make it to our wedding brunch on Sunday. Except our wedding is Saturday. The brunch is just for immediate family the day after. So I'll have to miss the actual wedding ceremony and reception, Carol said, but at least I can be there for the brunch to celebrate with you. Mom, you can't miss my wedding ceremony. Then change the date. It's the only solution that works for everyone. Jake was quiet for a long time after that call. That evening, he brought up the idea of maybe moving the wedding to Sunday. Jake, no, absolutely not. We are not changing our wedding date for Love Island. But if we moved it to Sunday, everyone could still come. We just need to call the vendors and see if they're available. And lose all our deposits? Stress out all our guests who already made plans? All so your mom can watch a TV show. It's not just a TV show to her. It's like her main hobby, her community. Her community is a bunch of strangers on the internet who she's never met. You don't understand how important this is to her. And our wedding isn't important to her. We fought about it for hours. Jake kept saying I was being inflexible and not considering his mother's feelings. I kept saying that our wedding date was non-negotiable and that Carol was being completely unreasonable. By the end of the week, Jake was barely speaking to me. He'd come home from work and immediately go to his computer or his phone. I caught him researching how much it would cost to change all our vendor dates. Friday night, exactly 1 week before our wedding, Jake sat me down for a talk. I've been thinking about this all week, he said, and I think we should seriously consider changing the date. Jake, we've been over this a million times. The answer is no. Just hear me out. I called the venue, and they have availability for Sunday. The photographer can do Sunday. The caterer said they could switch for a fee. It's not as complicated as you think. It's not about whether it's possible. It's about the principle. Your mother is demanding that we change our wedding date for a TV show. She's not demanding anything. She's just sad that she might have to miss something that's really important to her. Something that's more important than her son's wedding? That's not fair. You know she wants to be at the wedding. Then she should prioritize the wedding over Love Island. Jake was quiet for a minute. Then he said, what if we compromise? What if we moved the ceremony to Sunday, but kept the reception Saturday? She could watch her show Saturday, and then come to the ceremony Sunday. I stared at him. You want to split our wedding into 2 days so your mom can watch TV? It's not about the TV show. It's about family harmony. What about harmony with your future wife? The person you're supposed to put first from now on? You're being dramatic. I'm being dramatic? Your mother wants us to change our wedding date for Love Island, and I'm being dramatic? We went to bed angry. Saturday morning, Jake announced that he was going to his mom's house to talk through some options. He came back 6 hours later with a completely different attitude. I talked to my mom and we figured out a solution, he said. We're moving the wedding to Sunday. We are not moving the wedding to Sunday. I already called the vendors. Most of them can accommodate the change. We'll lose some deposits, but my mom said she'd help cover the costs. Jake, I said no. This is our decision to make together, and I do not agree. Well, I do agree. And it's my wedding too. It's also my wedding, and I'm telling you no. Look, I'm sorry you're upset, but this is what's best for the family. My mom will never forgive us if we make her miss the Love Island finale, but she'll forgive us for changing our wedding date at the last minute. She's actually really grateful that we're being flexible. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Jake, if you change our wedding date without my consent, there's not going to be a wedding at all. Don't be ridiculous. You're just stressed because it's close to the wedding. You'll feel better about it once you see how happy my mom is. I will not feel better about it. I will feel betrayed by the man I thought I was going to marry. You're overreacting. I'm really not. Sunday morning, I woke up to Jake on the phone with our wedding coordinator, confirming the date change to the following Sunday. I sat there listening to him rearrange our entire wedding around his mother's TV schedule. He was giving out our new wedding date without even consulting me, acting like it was a done deal that we'd both agreed to. When he hung up, I said, call her back and change it to Saturday. It's too late. I already confirmed everything. Then unconfirm it. Look, it's done. The new date is next Sunday. My mom is thrilled. Everything's going to work out fine. Jake, I'm going to say this one more time. If you don't change the date back to Saturday, there's not going to be a wedding. Stop threatening me. We're getting married next Sunday, and that's final. No, we're not. I went upstairs and started packing. Jake followed me, asking what I was doing. I'm leaving. I'm not marrying someone who would prioritize his mother's TV show over our wedding. You're being completely irrational. I'm being completely rational. You just showed me exactly where I rank in your priorities, and it's below Love Island. It's not about Love Island. It's about respecting my mother. What about respecting your fiancé? Jake didn't have an answer for that. I packed a bag and drove to my parents' house. Jake called me about 20 times, but I didn't answer. Update: 3 days later. So our original wedding date was supposed to be yesterday. Instead of getting married, I spent the day fielding calls from confused relatives asking why they got a message saying the wedding was postponed. Apparently, Jake sent out a group text on Saturday night saying, due to unforeseen circumstances, the wedding has been moved to next Sunday. Sorry for any inconvenience. Unforeseen circumstances, like his mother's TV schedule, was some kind of natural disaster. My cousin called me laughing because she thought it had to be a joke. Did Jake really postpone your wedding for Love Island? Word has gotten out about the real reason for the date change, and the reactions have been intense. Jake's brother called him and apparently told him he was being an idiot. Several of our friends have reached out to me saying they can't believe Jake would do something so stupid. Even some of Jake's relatives are taking my side. But Carol is posting on social media about how grateful she is to have such a thoughtful and considerate son who understands the importance of family. She's been sharing articles about the Love Island finale and posting screenshots of her watching with her online friends. The finale apparently lived up to the hype. Carol posted a long Facebook status about how it was the most amazing television event of the year and how she was so blessed to be able to experience it with her Love Island family. Meanwhile, the man I was supposed to marry spent our wedding day calling and texting me, begging me to reconsider. I've been staying at my parents' house and honestly, I'm starting to see things more clearly. This isn't the first time Jake has prioritized keeping his mother happy over standing up for me. It's just the most dramatic example. Like when Carol insisted on coming with us to pick out my wedding dress, even though I specifically said I wanted it to be just me and my mom and sister. Jake said it would hurt her feelings if we didn't include her, so I gave in. Or when Carol booked a family vacation for the same weekend as my college best friend's wedding, and then guilt-tripped Jake until he agreed we couldn't go to my friend's wedding because family comes first. Or when Carol decided she didn't like the house we were planning to buy because it was too far from her, it was 25 minutes, and Jake started second-guessing our choice. I've been making compromises and accommodations for Carol for 4 years, thinking that's just what you do with difficult in-laws. But apparently when it came time for Carol to make a compromise, Jake wasn't willing to ask her to. Update, 1 week later. Yesterday was supposed to be our backup wedding date. The one Jake changed it to so Carol could watch Love Island. I wasn't there. I haven't spoken to Jake since our conversation at my parent house. He's been texting constantly, but I've been ignoring him. Yesterday morning, he showed up at my work. My boss had to ask him to leave because he was making a scene in the lobby, begging me to talk to him. Around noon, I got a call from Jake's brother Matt. Jake's really messed up, Matt said, but he's also really sorry. He's been a wreck all week. Good. Look, I think what he did was stupid too. But he loves you. He's always had a hard time saying no to our mom. That's exactly the problem. What if he went to therapy? What if he worked on setting boundaries with her? Matt, he postponed our wedding for Love Island. This isn't something therapy can fix in a few sessions. So, you're really going to throw away 4 years over this? I'm not throwing anything away. Jake threw it away when he decided his mother's TV show was more important than our marriage. Yesterday afternoon, I started getting calls from people who were supposed to be at the wedding. Apparently Jake went through with the ceremony anyway. Not our wedding ceremony, just a ceremony, with his family and a few friends who either didn't know what was happening or felt too awkward to back out. According to Jake's cousin, who called to see if I was okay, Jake stood at the altar alone and gave this speech about how he'd made terrible mistakes but hoped I'd forgive him someday. Then Carol got up and talked about how proud she was of her son for putting family first. The whole thing sounds absolutely unhinged. Jake called me later that night, crying, saying he'd gone through with the ceremony because he'd already paid for everything and didn't want to waste the money. But also because he hoped I'd change my mind at the last minute and show up. I kept thinking you'd walk through the doors, he said. I waited for like 20 minutes past the start time. Jake, I told you I wasn't going to marry you. I thought maybe if you saw how sorry I was. You being sorry doesn't change anything. You still chose your mom over me. What can I do to fix this? I don't think you can. Update, 3 weeks later. I finally agreed to meet Jake for coffee to talk about next steps. We need to figure out logistics. We live together. We have shared bank accounts. We were planning a whole life together. Jake looked terrible. He's lost weight, and he looked like he hadn't been sleeping. He immediately started apologizing again and saying he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. I've been thinking about it nonstop, he said. You were right about everything. I should have told my mom that our wedding date was non-negotiable. Yes, you should have. I was so worried about hurting her feelings that I didn't think about how I was hurting you. Jake, it's not just about hurt feelings. It's about respect. You showed me that when there's a conflict, you'll side with your mom. I won't do it again. How can I trust that? This was our wedding. If you couldn't stand up to her about our wedding, when will you ever stand up to her? Jake said he'd been thinking the same thing. He said he'd realized that his relationship with his mother was unhealthy and that he needed to work on setting boundaries. I started seeing a therapist, he said. She's helping me understand why I have such a hard time disappointing my mom. That's good, Jake. But it doesn't change what happened. What if we postponed the wedding for a year? What if I spent that time working on this stuff and proving that I can put you first? I thought about it. Part of me still loves Jake and wants to believe he can change. But another part of me knows that this pattern has been going on for 4 years, and one dramatic incident isn't going to magically fix it. I don't know, I said. I need more time to think. Will you at least consider it? Will you maybe try couples counseling with me? I said I'd think about it, but honestly, I'm leaning toward ending things permanently. The thing is, I keep thinking about our future kids. What happens when Carol decides she doesn't like how we're disciplining them? What happens when she wants them to spend every holiday at her house? What happens when she disapproves of our parenting choices? If Jake couldn't stand up to her about our wedding date, how is he going to stand up to her about our children? Update, 6 weeks later. I made my decision. Last week, I told Jake that I couldn't marry him. Not now, and probably not ever. It wasn't an easy decision. Jake has been working hard in therapy and making a genuine effort to set boundaries with Carol. He even told her that her behavior about the wedding was unacceptable and that she owed me an apology. Carol's response was to throw a tantrum and say that I was turning her son against her. She hasn't apologized. But here's what really sealed it for me. Jake told his therapist about our situation, and the therapist wanted to meet with me to discuss whether couples counseling might help. During that meeting, the therapist said something that really stuck with me. She said, in healthy relationships, both partners should feel confident that their spouse will have their back in conflicts with outside parties, including family members. I realized that I would never feel confident about that with Jake. Even if he gets better at setting boundaries with Carol, I'll always be wondering if he's going to cave to her pressure when it really matters. I don't want to spend my marriage being the mean wife who has to constantly fight for my husband's loyalty. I don't want to monitor every interaction between Jake and Carol to make sure he's not agreeing to something that undermines me. I want a partner who instinctively puts our relationship first, not someone who has to work really hard to remember to do it. When I told Jake my decision, he cried and begged me to reconsider. He said he'd cut off contact with Carol if that's what it took. Jake, I don't want you to cut off contact with your mom. I want you to have a healthy relationship with her that doesn't come at my expense. But I don't think that's possible. It is possible. I'm learning how to do it. Maybe you are. But I can't wait around to see if you figure it out. I need to be with someone who already knows how to do it. We're in the process of separating our finances and figuring out the apartment situation. It's messy and sad, but I know I'm making the right choice. A few of our mutual friends think I'm being too harsh and that I should give Jake another chance. But my family and closest friends support my decision. My sister said something that really resonated with me. You shouldn't have to train your husband to prioritize your marriage. She's right. I want a partner, not a project. Update, 3 months later. I'm doing much better now. I moved into my own apartment, and I'm honestly loving living alone. I forgot how peaceful it is when you don't have to constantly navigate someone else's family drama. Jake texted me a few weeks ago saying he was still working on himself and hoped we could try again someday. I didn't respond. I've blocked him on social media, and I'm trying to move forward. The funny thing is, I found out from a mutual friend that Carol is now dating someone new, a guy she met in one of her Love Island fan groups. Apparently, he's flying in from another state to meet her in person. I can't help but laugh at the irony. Carol destroyed her son's relationship over a TV show, and now she's trying to start a new relationship with someone she met because of that same TV show. Jake will probably end up having to navigate his mom's new relationship drama while she continues to prioritize her online friendships and TV obsessions over real family connections. I'm grateful that's not my problem anymore. I've started dating again, and it's been really nice to meet men who don't come with complicated family situations. On my last date, the guy mentioned that his mom was excited to meet me eventually, but that he told her it was way too early for that, and she totally understood. Such a simple interaction, but it reminded me what healthy boundaries look like. I dodged a bullet with Jake. I just wish it hadn't taken our entire relationship falling apart for me to see it. The moral of the story: if someone shows you where you rank in their priorities, believe them. And if Love Island is higher on that list than your feelings, run.